Well, the Biden administration has filed a second dispute for Canada's restriction of dairy trade under the USMCA agreement. Now, it's welcome news for U.S. milk producers who are calling for the full market access that the agreement was intended to deliver. Jaime Castaneda with the U.S. Dairy Export Council and National Milk Producers Federation joins us now. Jaime, thank you so much for being here. So tell us where we stand at this point with Canada's dairy tariff rate quotas.
Well, unfortunately, as you all remember, President Trump negotiated a new NAFTA called USMCA. And through that negotiations, we've pushed extremely hard to see if we could actually get some access into the Canadian market. We thought that the Canadians were negotiating in good faith, and even though at the end of the day we got a meager 3.5% or a little less than 3.5% of their market, we thought that actually that was going to be true ability for us, a true ability to export all type of dairy products. Unfortunately, the Canadians, as always, when it comes to dairy, began playing games. And unfortunately, they didn't give us even that meager market access that was negotiated in good faith. They began providing us with new trade barriers. So the United States government started a panel within the USMCA. It's like a court case, and we won the first one. But unfortunately, the panel ruled in a very narrow way. So the U.S. government is now bringing a second case to make sure that the panel provide us enough power so we can, if Canada doesn't comply with that ruling, we can retaliate and force Canada to comply.
So, Jaime, you've been the lead voice for trade policy for the dairy industry for years. So why this back and forth with Canada? They signed this agreement. Why have they been, as you say, playing games?
Yeah, in fact, I got my job because I used to work for the U.S. government, and I was the lead negotiator and the lead for USDA on a WTO case against Canada way back in 1996, 97. So yes, I have been with the industry now for 23 years. And Canada, as you all know, have a supply management. But the problem is that we have never attacked their own policies. They can do whatever they want, but they cannot have their cake and eat it too. What they have done is normally try to have high prices for their dairy farmers, but at the same time, dump actually their extra surplus at lower prices, or prevent us from gaining access to this minimum negotiated TRQs that you talk about it.
Well, talk about how the impact that Canada's updated TRQ system, how is that affecting us and our U.S. dairy producers here in the States?
So tariff rate quotas is basically, as you all know, we have tariffs, everybody, the United States too. But the United States may have tariffs between 10 and 40% for our dairy products, while Canada has up to 200% on their dairy products tariffs. So TRQ is what allows actually to come in at a lower rate. And you negotiate that within this USMCA or the WTO. So what they have done is take the TRQs and give it to their processors, rather than actually us having ability to give those products to distributors or retailers. Actually, Canada has provided 80 to 90% of that TRQ to processors. Obviously, the processors in Canada, they're going to take advantage of that and buy whatever is not a competition, or they're not going to fill the quotas.
So how do you see this going forward? I mean, how do you see this playing out?
Well, certainly, we're going to actually, the government is going to, at our request of the U.S. Dairy Export Council and the National Milk Producers Federation, is going to actually bring this second case. It's going to take about a year for the panel to rule again, and we are confident that they're going to rule in favor of the United States. And in this case, At that time, unfortunately, we're going to have to wait for another year. At that time, if Canada doesn't comply with that panel, the U.S. government will be able to retaliate. And if we do the things right, we'll be able to retaliate against key products in key provincial governments in Canada that will then people start realizing that, oh my God, I mean, just because Canada decides to not play with the fair rules in dairy, I'm going to be impacted. So I think that unfortunately it's going to take another year to see some specific results, but we will not give up, and we will not rest until we see Canada comply with their agreement.
Absolutely. Just great insight, Jaime. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being here. That's Jaime Castaneda with the U.S. Dairy Export Council and National Milk Producers Federation. Again, thank you for joining us.